It's Warren Huart here. Hope you're doing marvelously well. Sitting here with Alex from Recording Connection. How are you, mate?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. You play drums, don't you?
I do.
Good. So we're going to do some drum recording. So what we'll do is we'll go in there, we'll look at miking techniques, and we'll record some stuff.
Sounds good.
All right, let's just do a quick overview of the kit. So what I have here is a 1964 Ludwig drum kit. The thing about it is, I think it was about $400 because somebody had recovered it. You know, even though it's a 60s Ludwig, it's not, you know, when it's been recovered recently, it ruins its value. But I don't care because I'm not collecting it. I'm using it every day, you know.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I've had Ludwigs. I love Ludwigs, but I've also had Tamar kits and Sonars and Yamahas and stuff. And they all sound great, quite frankly. The snares I tend to prefer are Ludwig snares. And drummers out there will tell me this. It's something to do with the bearing edge. They just sound great, and most of the records I grew up listening to used Ludwig snares, so my ears always go to that. But anyway, it's a really basic kit. Cymbal-wise, it's just whatever works. I've got Zildjian Avidas Custom on here. I've got Paiste 2002. Got another Zildjian Avidas over there, medium crash, and I've got some new beats. So it's a mixture of cymbals, and I have other vintage cymbals and whatever that we swap out. And drummers will often turn up and bring their own cymbals.
Yeah.
They'll also bring...
Usually the house work, their own snare.
Yeah, their own snare. Well, the snare they usually keep with mine, but the one thing almost entirely that happens, and I would encourage, is the drummer brings his own kick pedal.
Okay.
Because my kick pedal is a Speed King, which is like a 70s like Bonham kick, and it's not modern at all.
Okay.
And I remember we had Brad Wilkin here, you know, from Rage Against the Machine. And
Yeah.
he came in and he's like, "Oh, wow, yeah. So you got a Speed King?" And I was like, yeah, sure. He goes, "Yeah, I used to play one of those in the 70s, you know, like." And then Stephen Perkins used it.
Oh, yeah?
He didn't bring a kick pedal, and he's like, "Oh, wow, you've got one of those old things." I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Okay." He didn't change anything. Stephen Perkins just played the kit as it was. He just turned up with a pair of sticks.
That's
But, you know,
cool.
most drummers bring their own pedals, though.
Yeah.
And that's to be expected. And if you're on the phone talking to a drummer and they ask about the kit, suggest that they might want to bring their own pedal, because everybody's pedals are different action. Some guys like the Tama ones. I know a lot of guys like the DW pedals. They play so differently, and whatever you prefer. And it's unlikely you're going to turn up to a studio with exactly what you need. So usually guys like Matt Starr, when Matt comes, he brings some cymbals. He likes my snare, but he brings cymbals that he likes, and he also brings a kick pedal he likes. All right, so that's the basic overview. It's a real simple kit. It's just one rack, one floor, kick drum. Okay, so let's go to the kick drum. Now, I do not take the head off the kick drum. I also don't have a hole. Now, you might ask why that is. I get asked all the time. This is just my personal preference. I like the sound of this big bellowing head here ringing really well, which it rings really well when there's no hole in it. Now, obviously, that might sound strange to a lot of people, but in this modern age, in this tiny little drum room that I've got, I can, if I want, add something against this to get some extra click. But what I can't do is get the air of the kick, which is what this creates. This big, it's just got so much beautiful air on it. Why don't you sit and play it for a second? But even softly, you can hear there's some nice air. So, if you want, of course, you can cut a hole and you can stick a D112 or a Sennheiser or, you know, whatever you like inside. Audix, a lot of people make great ones. I've got a Lewitt mic on here. It's a DTP 340 Rex. And the thing about this mic, I'm not doing it, but what you can do is you can use both the dynamic and the condenser that's built into it. The condenser's a little brighter and it will bring out more of the click. So you've got actually two outputs that you can use from one mic. So that's kind of a nifty little device. Okay, as far as the rest of the kit, I'm really not doing anything magical here. So what I have here is two Shure microphones. I have a Shure SM57 on the top and I have a cheap Shure underneath. That Shure came with the Shure drum mic package that they gave me. Another Shure here on a hi-hat. You'll notice on quite a lot of my drum recording videos, I take a 57 and I tape a pencil condenser to it, like a 451 or something like that. But what I'm doing here is I'm using an SM7, which is a dynamic microphone. And I think, to be honest, this was out of necessity. I think one of our condensers went down. We stuck it on there as a quick replacement.
That's
and it
crazy.
sounds really good.
Does it?
Yeah, it just sounds like it's got a lot of mid-range. You can boost up the top end if you want it, but I'm not doing that much like super funky, tight stuff. Most people that come in here are playing straight rock, or if we've done program drums, they're playing rock beats against it, and I just want a good rock sound.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good sounding room. It's dead, so we don't get room mics out of it, but what we get is like nice fat tones.
Yeah. I usually use the 7B for like floor toms. Like a floor
that's cool.
tom, and then I use like the Coles for like the hi-hat.
The Coles?
Yeah.
Well, that'd be cool. I mean, it's dark.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think if you don't want the extra sizzle, you can get away with using ribbons and stuff, definitely. Now for overheads I'm using a pair of Lewitt LCT 340s. These are just great, inexpensive, cheap pencil condensers, which sound great. There's only two more things left on it, and that's the toms. And this is where it gets really silly. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm just going to stop all the trolling now because I'm using C12As on the toms. This is like thousands of dollars worth of microphones. Those dents were already there. I didn't put them on. So it's kind of crazy, but those were just a matched pair and they do sound phenomenal. It's very expensive, but at the same time, I've used all kinds of things on toms. I put 57s on it. All right, here's a good one. We were at Sunset Sound the other day and we had the track sheet from Van Halen 2. And so we're talking 1979. And all of the mics on that drum kit were a combination of 546 and 57s. There was nothing expensive on that kit at all. And that's Van Halen. And that was on their second album. So, you don't have to put expensive mics on there. This is just what I tried out. It sounds really good. It gets a good ring. I record my drums pretty dead sounding. I mean, I don't mind the ring, but yeah, there's probably a little bit more ring maybe on the. I've had drummers come in and deaden it down even more, so it's probably somewhere in the middle. To be honest, it's not super ringy, not super dead. It's on the medium side. I know a lot of drummers will put tea towels on there, which for certain songs is fantastic. You just kind of get dot, doo,
like a moon gel or something like that.
Moon gels are great. Moon gels are really, really good.
Do you have a pillow in the kick? There
is a pillow in the kick. And it's just on that beta side head, just leaning up against it. Just if you play the kick, it's a boomy kick.
It is,
but I kind of like it.
Yeah,
I kind of like it. All right, so there it is. Really simple. The only other thing we'll do sometimes is we'll open up the vocal mic in the room and use that as a room mic. However, I don't think about it when you've got a room this small. I don't think about it in terms of like having a room mic. It's not there to give you huge ambient sounds, not a traditional room mic. What it is just a mono capture of the drum kit.
Yeah.
And I usually just open up the vocal mic here. Sometimes I'll stick something low down in front of the kit, but 99% of the time it's just this setup. And then if I want to get crazy, we add some reverb on the snare. If we want to get some room, we might take this room mic or the overheads and put that to a little bit more verb and create some width. Now, at the moment, and there's many different ways of doing it, but at the moment, these overheads microphones are pointed exactly at the snare, to the center of the snare, 46 inches away. There's all kinds of placements. At the moment, they're spaced pair, 46 inches to the middle, so they'll be in phase. Sometimes you could do an XY over the top of the snare. A lot of people do that. That will give you a very accurate representation of the kit, but it might end up sounding a little distant. Because you might end up with something over here and your cymbals are like, it's not the best for cymbals. What I got here is a little bit more coverage.
Yeah.
It's not the most amazing, but definitely random. Now, a lot of rock guys, they will mic cymbals, not individually, but they might come in and do one here on this cymbal. They might put a 57 or a ribbon or something pointed at the bell here and then another mic there, because if you're doing a rock kit and you're going to EQ all of the low mids and the lows out of it and you're close on the cymbal, you can individually mic them or use a lot of mics because you can then pan them around so you see the kit. Now, they might not be perfectly in phase with the snare, but bearing in mind most of the low end and everything will be EQ'd out of it and it's super close, that's probably okay. I've seen every variation. I personally like to have my overheads over the drums in phase with the snare, and sort of take it from there.
So 46 inches is usually your like go-to kind of?
It's kind of my go-to. It's been what I've been doing for years, like 45 to 47, somewhere in that kind of realm. When I time adjust stuff and push it back with the overheads, it's not that far. Like if I went higher, you know, you'd end up maybe really messing with the polarity, with the phase, but it's pretty darn good.
Would you ever go like farther away? Or?
Yeah, if I wanted to get more of a complete sound and more, you know, more of an accent miking, you know, I've done that.
Yeah.
We're super, super high over it. But then what I
Yeah,
might do is go one here, and one in the front.
Like a center one?
Yeah, and then do like an equilateral triangle, so they're all exactly the same distance away from each other. And what that creates is everything is in phase, and you get a really nice version of the drums. You pound one left, one right, and one in the middle, and you just end up with this really accurate feel of a drum kit, which is amazing.
Yeah.
However, when it comes to like the kind of music that we do, like rock or anything that's dense and has a lot of tracks, you might want to be able to pull up the kick, and your only option is to maybe give a little bit of 60 hertz on there.
Yeah.
Which is great. But if you want that kick to really kind of come forward, you want that individual mic. So it's always, to me, this is like the minimum that works for me, which is one kick, one each of the toms, 3, 4, 5 on the snare, 2 on the snare, 1 hi-hat, 6, 7, 8. 8 mics on the drum kit, off you go. You don't have to use the bottom snare, like a lot of guys don't use them, especially rock guys don't like bottom snares. And you can, of course, you can go kick, snare top, overheads and solo them, and then you've got a drum kit sound.
Yeah.
You don't have to bring in the hi-hat. Interesting enough, when I grew up in England, we didn't record hi-hats at all.
Yeah. I usually don't like hi-hats.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
I used to use the overheads for
Yeah.
getting that stuff.
So you could go, kick, snare, overheads. You could do it with 4 mics quite easily.
So it just depends on like the room basically. So say if it's like a bigger live room, would you spread them out more?
Oh yeah, with a bigger live room I'd go.
Yeah.
When I'm in Sunset or United, I do at least 2 pairs of stereo mics.
Okay.
And I love it, you know, and if the drummer is a really good, even player, it's beautiful. You just bring up those stereo mics and you're like, my drum sound.
Yeah.
And then you get a really accurate, great drum sound off a really good drummer. And then you kind of blend your close mics in with that and keep the stereo image building and sounding huge. As opposed to like building a close mic kit drum sound and then pulling the room mics in. If I'm in a really good room with a great stereo image, I'll listen to that first and then bring the close mics into it.
Okay. So yeah, you're just referencing like the overheads first?
Yeah.
So,
Or the rooms. If I got really accurate
the
rooms, yeah. So it's really, you know, and what I'll do in those instances, I usually do high mics above, pointing down the kit, and then low miking the floor. 2 totally different sounds, the same distance away, so they're in phase of each other.
Yeah.
So I measure them in phase with the snare. So let's just say, I don't know, it's like 21 feet. So I'll go 21 feet there, 21 feet there, and then 21 feet above, you know, so not 21 feet above, but 21 feet away, with the high mics. But strange enough, all joking aside, I said 21 feet above by mistake, but some of the best drum rooms, the thing that really matters is a high ceiling.
Yeah.
Like when I was in Sausalito and the record plant, they had that room that Metallica tracked in, and it's not very deep. I mean, it's deeper than this room, of course, but it still seems like a small rectangle. But you do that and it goes, and you look up and they raise the ceiling. So it was like this huge kind of cavern going up. And every time you hit the snare, it's like huge.
Like a more natural, like reverbish kind
Oh
of.
yeah, really natural reverb. It was fantastic. And that was, I don't know, they did like 3 Metallica albums there. Because they all lived in San Francisco, so that was like their local studio. You know, it's horses for courses. You know, I appreciate and I love people that talk about using natural sounds only. I get it. We do use it. If you listen to the Trevor Hall records I did, they're completely natural. Mark Broussard album I did here, completely natural tones. But there's plenty of, like when I'm doing rock albums and I want it to be massive, I'll put a sample against it. To me, it's like, what are you trying to achieve? I don't have one way of working. I know a lot of people hate samples. I'm like, okay, I get it. But let's just say you want a big clicky kick and you got this.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I got. You want like monster, massive snare in a huge room. That's what I've got. Now I can use reverb and stuff, don't get me wrong, but there's just certain things. I mean, this is what I've got. It sounds fantastic, but if I want it to be massive, then I have to mess with it. When I did Ace Frehley's last record, the duet that he did with Paul Stanley, I sent 2-track mix of that over to Greg Collins so he could cut Paul's vocals. And Greg emailed me back immediately, wow, these drums sounds amazing. Where did you cut them? Thinking I was going to say I went to some huge room, and I was like, send him a picture of this room, like from here, like, and he's like, really? And I was like, yeah, you know, kick and snare sample and some reverb, you know, it's just, it's all about using your ears and making it work. Now, I know the purists will tell me I'm wrong, but it's just, you know, a lot of people, this is a bedroom size. This is a nice, decent sized bedroom. It's not a huge bedroom. It's you know, you put a double bed in there, there's not much, you couldn't really move, but it's like a normal person's bedroom. So you can cut drums in any kind of environment. One of our Academy members, Jeff McDonald, has like a garage behind his house that has like concrete in it, and we worked on his drum sound via Skype, and it sounds amazing because it's just
concrete floor.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So you can do it in garages, you can do it in bedrooms, you name it. It's really cool. All right, let's hear some tones. Okay, great. So what do we have here? We have a kick mic. Can you hear it? Can you play the kick, please, for me, Alex? As you can tell, there's a schnizzle load of bottom end coming out of that. All right, let's hear some snare. Nice. Great. Some floor tom, please. Nice. Rack. Got a little bit of ring on the rack, but I don't care. I think it sounds kind of cool. Give me some cymbals. Great. Hi-hat. And then just play some kit.
Just some kick? Again?
Just the drum kit, just play the whole kit.
Oh.
So that's the room mic. It's a little high because the room mic's essentially, the room mic's just a vocal mic. So, which has literally been left up about 6 foot where the last person who was singing was. It could go a little bit lower, but I'm gonna leave it where it is. Cool, so hold on a second. We're gonna do, just give me a groove. Have some fun. You know that old joke? How do you know when a drummer's knocking on your door? The knock gets faster.
I'm a little rusty.
Give me like a straight 4/4 groove, something really simple.
All right.
Nice. I like teasing people because I get teased all the time. Hayden's sitting there going, Throw some toms in. Great, nicely done. Come in. So here we are. We have. I just created this loop quickly. Just this. Basically, I've got overheads, kick snare, of course, toms. Sounds pretty cool. All the natural tones.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds really good. So the kick is pretty boomy. I've got a basic bus set up here. All I've done is pulled out some low mids, about 300-ish. The 300 to 400 area is ugly as all.
Is this an EQ?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
Nice.
Take it off.
Yeah.
So a little high-end boost, about 60.
Did you just cut the middle then?
Yeah, just cut the low mids. The low mids in drums in general are just ugly. And then I'm boosting some 10K and some 50 here. I mean, I could go lower. I could go here. There's some 500 there, 5K. Right? So what I did is I've done 5K. So what we could do is like, we'll go back to 10. Here, let's go to 400 and wipe it off. With no EQ.
Wow, that is super clean.
Yeah, it's great. And then I've got a reverb set up here. Just want to give some ambience to the room.
Yeah. That kick sounds really nice.
Yeah, it's really nice, quite natural. Again, I could put a sample against it and add some clickiness to it if I wanted to.
So you put the kick room and the kick master. Do you have them all routing to something? To like, do you have a drum sub?
I have a drum sub on the console, but I'm not using any. I could create a stereo in here if I wanted to. We could do that as well. But this is the one thing that I really like to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an EQ before the room mic, the kick room mic. Now the reason why I'm doing that is because you get a real build-up of low end in your reverb. So I'm going to go to like 200-ish. Take it off. So it's huge and it sounds great on its own, that all that reverb has. So what I'll do is I'll make this pre-fade. Now I will mute. So it's pretty huge. Take this off. So all it's doing is just wiping out the low end on the reverb. And the reason why I do that is because I just don't want that low end build up just going on forever. It will really ruin my mix. All right, snare top. What I've got there is I've got a gate on it.
Okay.
Again, I can put this on pre-fade so we can hear what it's doing. I've got a verb here, which has already got an EQ built into it. So I can do this,
Is this its own reverb?
It's an R verb. It's a Renaissance reverb, it's a Waves one.
Yeah.
See, I can EQ it here, which is nice.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of brightness on it. It's kind of nice. But again, getting rid of that low end, I don't need it. I don't want to build up of low end. Bottom snare. If I go to my toms, I've got my floor here. I've got EQs ready to go if I need them.
Yeah.
Don't think I need them.
No, yeah, they sound pretty good.
So what I've got here is I've got my floor tom coming out 45. I'm setting on 45 and my rack tom on 46. And what I like about that is 45, so it's the floor, it's just panning to the side that the drums are actually on. I've also got a gate on that as well. So it's only triggering the reverb when the toms play.
Yeah.
So it's a really natural drum sound. I mean, the EQ I've got going here is I'm getting rid of some low end that I wouldn't need. Could use an R bass, but I think if I was going to do something on the toms, I'd probably take about 350 hertz and just wipe that out. You could use that on both. That's where the boxiness on the toms is. around the overhead. So that's my mono room mic, which is just a vocal mic. Kind of nice.
Yeah.
But it's a good, accurate representation of the drum kit.
I really like that snare though. That snare sounds, that Ludwig snare.
Yeah, it's a Ludwig supraphonic. It's just a freaking amazing snare.
It's such a nice crack to it, like.
It's fantastic. Well, you're playing it well because there's a different. If you hit it too hard, it can choke. If you just smash the schnizzle out of it, it'll just go, you know, to get tone.
Those rolls sound pretty good.
So all I'm doing is rolling off some low lows and doing a little top end boost. So to me, that's a good natural 5-minute drum sound. It doesn't take long to get a decent drum sound up like that. And you know, it really depends on the track. Like if I have a drum sound like that, I might frankly work up a song around that, you know, have something a bit more organic, you know. Kind of a good loop.
What mic's the kick mic again?
It's a Lewitt kick drum mic. It's called a DTP 340 Rex.
Okay.
It's like their kick drum mic.
How much does it differ from like a D12?
I have a D12 as well, which I like. The D12 is great. It's definitely doesn't boost the lows in quite the same way a modern kick drum mic does.
So you prefer the Lewitt over that?
I do, but it depends on the gig and what it's for.
Yeah.
A D12 has a real kind of classic 70s kind of sound. It tends to, at least in my ears, it tends to sort of work around 180, like 80 hertz to 100. It's got a really good knocking kind of bottom end. But for a modern kick drum where I want 40 and 60 hertz to be boosted, I use more modern mics, which you can use D112s. Sennheiser make the E602, I think. There's an Audix D6. D6? Can't remember which Audix it is, but there's a lot of really great modern mics that do it, and of course the Lewitt is great as well.
Do you ever use subs?
I will. I have an NS10 sub in there. Yeah, it's a Solomon. Yeah, so this is the Solomon. This is fantastic. See, it's like an NS10 built all in one, and it's freaking amazing. I was working with Diane Warren recently with a big rock band. I'm not allowed to say who it is yet, but and I put this on the kick and it was awesome. I don't need it in this situation.
Yeah.
We got the low end we need.
Where would you usually like place it?
I place it on the head, nowhere near the hole, so I get that reverberation. That's me. Some people might put it on
like the opposite side of the hole. But
yeah.
Like if your
the
doesn't have a hole.
I'll put like a D112 in there or D6 or a Sennheiser 602. Shure. There's so many great mics that do that. Everybody has a preference. Personally, I've been to 10 million studios in my life. That was a little exaggeration. 9 million. No, I've been to many studios in my life, and you're like, what have they got? You know, some places have D112, some have 602, whatever. You get in there and you're like, okay, this is the mic I'm going to use inside the kick. You have something like this. This is pretty freaking awesome. I put this on the head. So yeah, the holes here I put on the head, and it just gives me boom, boom every time that guy plays, and it's beautiful, and it's totally controllable because it's low end I can control. So it's a Solomon, really great, really awesome. And then often I'll tunnel the kick, so I'll put another kick mic further back and then tunnel that off. So there's like a million different ways of doing it. Relatively speaking, the overheads are cheap mics. The kick mic is cheap. The snare, and when I say cheap, I don't mean like free. I just mean inexpensive. Yeah. There's nothing about this that couldn't be done with maybe $600 or $800 worth of microphones. Yeah. It's really just a nice kit. You're not hitting it too hard, so you're getting good tone. That is the secret to why it sounds good. Like I say, it's a $400 drum kit. Okay, we know the tom mics are really expensive, but I put 57s in their place. They'd sound just as good. I mean, for what we're doing, it's really inexpensive. Like I say, $800 worth of microphones with a half decent drum kit, tuned fairly well, and not choking the drums.
Yeah.
Just playing them well, and you get a good sound.
What's on the toms right now?
They're AKG C12As. They're ridiculously expensive, but what I have a pair of, I mean, we could have cheated and put a couple of cheap mics in there. Maybe we should have. I don't know. But I don't think that's going to make a huge amount of difference.
Yeah. I think at my studio we use the Sennheiser MD421.
Yeah, 421s. I use those too, yeah.
Yeah, those are
421s are great.
Those are good, Tom.
Yeah, 421s. I've seen 421s, 57s, 414s, you name it, every mic under the planet.
It's all about preferencing and like experimenting, basically.
Yeah, and you know, this works. I mean, it's sounding good. You're playing not overly aggressive, so you're getting good tone. Take the reverb off. Floor looks like it needs a bit of a tune, but you know, it just, like I said, I would be fine to put, you know, $75 microphones on for that kind of thing. It's great. Yeah. You know what you can do as well. Oh, and what I didn't do yet is like I've created this fake room so we can turn that on. And what the fake room is just another reverb so I can make the drums bigger. So what that is the snares going through it, the overheads are going through it lightly. I can put the toms through it, or the overheads aren't going through it, but I can put the overheads through it as well lightly. It's just, yeah, okay. And that just creates an overall room. It's just a reverb of everything. So now suddenly you're in a big room.
Yeah. The MV2.
Just another Renaissance. It's not even that big of a size. I can take the time up.
I'm sensing that hi-hat is like getting affected by it the most, probably. The overheads are careful.
So there you go. I mean, the reality is like, it's far too much. I would never use it that much. But the reality is like, you can create all these different drum sounds.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the pretty much dry tones with a little bit of reverb. Cool. There you go. So it's really about the creativity. I could take that, I could lay samples against it, make it more aggressive. You know, if I wanted to hard edit that and make it at the moment, I kind of like the looseness of it. I mean, we could take that as a drum loop. I like it. Go. We'll rap over it.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Right now.
All right, great. Well, hopefully we sparked some interest there, you, in recording drums. It's really, really straightforward. I don't want this to come across as a huge mystery. It's really not. And I'm going to do more stuff like this using a small amount of mics. We're going to Sunset Sound 2 weeks on Saturday. So soon, it might come out. Well, it won't come out before this, but it will come out soon. And we're going to go in there and we're going to record a band live of great players. And we're going to use all their expensive mics. And we're also going to throw up an inexpensive drum mic package and use a Focusrite 8 input and record it at the same time.
Okay. Just
to prove it's going to be about the drummer and the room.
Yeah.
And not so much. Yes, definitely, beautiful mics make a difference. Of course they do. But can you get great results with inexpensive equipment? Heck yes, you certainly can. All right, well, thanks ever so much for watching. Please leave a bunch of comments and questions below. I'm sure there'll be a million questions and comments. At least I hope so. And have a marvelous time recording and mixing.